Hi, I'm Trenton Chappell, and I'm the host of Trenton Chappell Live.
What sparked your interest in podcasts?
Well, I'll tell you that. What sparked my interest in podcasts was one day I was home alone and I was kind of bored. I didn't want to watch a movie or a YouTube video. I just wanted to listen to something, but not music. And so I went to Spotify and just found stuff and just went on the podcast site and saw, what was it called? Shane and Friends, Shane Dawson's podcast. That show inspired me to become a podcaster.
Okay. Overall, how was your experience on Trenton's podcast?
There was awkward energy, but it was fun. I mean, there were some parts of it where I was like, this is weird. Can he show us the videos of just random crap that he found on the internet? I feel like the people who would listen to the podcast wouldn't really be in on that experience, but it was just a lot of fun getting to talk to Trenton and, with my girlfriend on the podcast.
Would you want to be featured on his podcast again if given the chance?
Definitely, but hopefully by myself next time. No offense to my girlfriend, but hopefully by myself.
This is actually my third show, Trenton Chappell Live. I've had 2 other shows that didn't really do so good. I've been doing podcasts for about 5 years, I believe. The first show was called The Awesome Podcast. It failed miserably. I didn't like it. The second show I had was Boy, and it was pretty okay. That's one of my famous episodes is when I had Michael Washington on the show, and that made it skyrocket. And then now I'm on Trenton Chappell Live, which is doing great. I'm actually getting paid for this one. I got sponsorships. I'm having fun with it.
Now, how did you pay for your equipment?
Good question. I get asked this a lot, actually. I see some people think that my parents bought it. Actually, no. I worked hard at a minimum wage job and got everything I needed. So.
He definitely seems like a hard worker, and he makes money off the podcast, and I think that's really awesome how he found something to do to make money off the side and get better at, and still spend that money to increase the quality of his podcasts as well. And just a hard worker, but he's also a very good friend, and he's super talkative, and he's an aggressive outrovert. He really just puts himself out there, but further out than anyone else could.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It depends on what kind of person you are. If you don't like someone being super out there and talking to you, then that's a bad thing, but it's a good thing for most because it's such a positive attitude.
So what kind of topics do you discuss on your show?
Anything, actually. Movies, trailers, gaming. If we have a guest interview. Occasionally, we'll just have a random episode where I just talk about the week, because it's every week. I do one every week. So, what's the top of the week going on? My main priority is to try to make people laugh. So I'm targeted as a comedy show, and so that's the main purpose of my show.
Now, how can people listen to your podcast?
Well, you can tag it in right here. Spotify, you can go look it up on Spotify. Apple Podcasts for Apple users. Google Podcasts for Android users. Any other third-party ones like Radio Public and all this jazz. But the main 3 are the first 3 I just told you. Yeah.
How do you get your guests on the show exactly?
Well, good question. Ever since season 2 came out, I've only had 2 episodes. We're about to have the 3rd one coming up Saturday, actually. And I just ask. I go up to them and go, hey, I found you funny and interesting. Let's have you on the show. I think last week we had Hunter Trammell on the show, and just being in that episode was just probably my favorite one so far because of all the humor we talked about and all the fun things we can do, and yeah.
All right, last question.
All right.
Is it just a hobby or something would you like to pursue in a career?
Right now, it's a hobby. I want to go into film more. I want to be a director. But I've also talked about being in radio broadcasting sometimes because my uncle is a sports broadcaster for UTA. And I've always thought about doing radio, but then, radio doesn't pay much, kids. So good question. Thank you.
All right. Would you like to shout out anything?
Of course. Shout out to my show, Trenton Chappell Live. New episodes every Saturdays right now until I make something new. Thank you guys.